I'm great, Justin. How are you?
You're doing great, doing great.
So, firstly, thank you very much for accepting my invitation and accepting to be on my show.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I'm looking forward to it.
So, I thought I've gone through your profile and I thought to tell about the work that you are doing and the work that you already did to my audience.
Sure. So I've spent the past close to 10 years now working as a product support manager, as a product manager and product owner um, for some of my company's external facing and internal facing products, mainly around the Salesforce ecosystem. Um, and yeah, I mean that's the short of it. Just as a support manager, a product owner, product manager, also done some work as a scrum master, um, and yeah, yeah, that's pretty much it.
So, you are from?
Indiana, United States.
Okay. So, in this 10 years as a product manager, product support manager, so all these roles, what this taught to you?
Um, I've learned a lot um, over that time, and with a lot of these roles, there's some very specific um, areas where they connect, and the basis of doing, especially between product management and product support, you have a connection here where you're both trying to create the best experience that you can for your customers, whether that is the applications itself, whether that is just the general experience that they have with the company with speaking to representatives. It all comes down to customer satisfaction, and so there's a few different things that you can look at there. Um, so that's really where they connect, and I think the big takeaway is active listening skills is really important, right? So not only are you trying to find out what they need and what they want, but you're also trying to figure out the best way for them to do that and the best way for you to help them achieve that goal. So I think that's the biggest takeaway from
So, which role you felt very happy to do?
that. All of them. All of them. I love the idea of making work easier for um, for other people, whether that is through applications that they use or um, that they purchase as a customer, or whether that is internally inside of the company. Making work as easy as possible to create um, uh, less friction and just an easier life, right? Everybody gets frustrated when things don't work the way that they're supposed to, or the process is overburdened and um, complicated for reasons that may not be the best reasons, right? Um, so I think just making that work easier for everybody is definitely the best thing.
So, what are the products on which you worked?
So we have a lot of applications, everything from um, internal work management tools um, for um, for customers and internal. There's also applications that work for DevOps. There's also some tools for estimation. and revenue. And all of those things are very different from each other, but they all have the same goal, right? Which is to do something as efficiently as possible, in the best way, in the easiest way, in the most secure way. And I think that all three of those tools do that.
So you worked on product management for a long time in your life. So about that role, what you understood, what uh, what is product and how it is managed.
Yeah. So with product management, um, there's a lot of different facets. There is the going through and figuring out what the needs are of the market, right, and the needs of the customers are for products. And then there is, coming up with the idea of that product, and how that product should work. And then there's diving into the technical details of that product and what's the best way to have that product do what it needs to do and securely, data information, security. Um, and then there's also a marketing aspect of it, where you also need to do some market research just to see whether or not that application is actually viable and wanted by the market that you're looking into. There's also a post-launch marketing aspect of it, where you need to go through and set up your marketing campaigns for, of all the different types, everything from social to email based to, um, standard old school marketing techniques, whatever fits your product, right? Um, and that's kind of the steps, um, from beginning to end. And then after that, you have post product support, right? So you're looking at making sure that, all the customers have the knowledge and tools that they need to be successful. So you have kind of like a customer success aspect of that. And then you also have, knowledge base. You also have follow ups with them so that you can create, a roadmap going from there forward of, um, you know, better features, fixing bugs, um, just to kind of class up the product and also make it work the way that you need it to. And then it's fulfilling all the goals that the customer needs to do. So there's a big shift from the beginning all the way to the end, and it covers a wide array of different, experience levels and processes, um, to get all the way through. It's pretty complicated. It's not easy, but it's definitely challenging and can be a lot of fun. And that's I think the key. If someone's looking to have a really big challenge and wants to make a big impact, I think product management is probably the way to go. Um, you can definitely make a huge impact on the world, um, just by making something that makes somebody else's life easier.
So I can understand you worked on two different software products while doing product management. So
Hmm.
tell me about your challenges that you faced in interacting with a lot of product people who wants products and trying to understand what they want and creating something from the scratch.
Yeah. So I don't have, um, a lot of experience going through the entire model. Most of my focus has been on the second half of it, right? From that post launch to managing new features to bug fixing through that aspect of it. The first part of it has only been a small part of what I've done experience-wise. But I would say that the biggest thing, the biggest part of what you're speaking to is the business analysis and product ownership in the agile world, of coming up with the actual details of what the customer needs, right? And that process in itself um, is a very stressful and fun part of it, right? Because you're trying to get people to open up about what their actual needs are, and what they're trying to achieve, and then making those decisions with customers or with partners or with the relevant stakeholders, and being able to come to an agreement on the best way to achieve that result. Um, and it's super fun because you get to interact with lots of different people. You get to see a lot of different points of view. So from individual contributor level. So let's take an example, right? So say if we're looking to create a customer service application for a company that has like a call center, right? So there's lots of different stakeholders with that. So you have the executive team that are looking to reduce costs and create efficiency, right? You have the manager levels who need to, in order to fulfill those executive level goals, need great insight, right? So they may need really in-depth reporting and real-time options on that application to help them monitor what's going on. And then from the, like, let's just say customer service level, those agents need to be able to do a couple different things really well. They need to be able to find information. So like they may need like a knowledge system in place to share information between them. They also need the best way to contact the customer, right? Is that a phone system? Is that a chat system? Is that an email system? Is that some sort of third-party application that that company may need to purchase on the side of it? Maybe they need something like a Zendesk or a Slack on the side to help manage some of those things. So asking the right questions to figure out what those customers or what each of those stakeholders need, and then coming up with that overall solution is difficult and fun. And I think that's one of the things about technology, and about one of the things of the ecosystem that we all kind of work in, is finding the challenging things that are fun. And business analysis and product ownership, which is kind of that area, is definitely probably one of the most fun parts, at least to me.
So product management, and you also worked as a work for product support. So what is the relation between both?
Yeah, so there's one product that I had a product ownership and product management level experience on, and was also the product manager for, the product support manager for. And so the relationship between the two is fairly complex, not always easy to navigate, even when you have two separate people doing roles, right? So from the business side of it, from the product management side of it, you are trying to deliver the best experience that you possibly can. You may have restraints on the investment levels, right? So you might either have like a really small engineering team, or you may have a really big engineering team. It just kind of depends on each specific product, right? So that can influence the quickness in which the company can respond to inquiries for new features and issue resolution and things of those natures. The main key of the relationship between those two in regards to product support is your product support team is your eyes on the ground. They're the ones talking to the customers every single day. They're talking to individual users every single day. They see what the issues are and how customers are using the application firsthand on a daily basis. So they're your biggest tool set and your biggest insight into how, like I said, how the customers are using the product. So if you're looking to add a new feature to the product, the opinions of your product support reps can help you navigate whether that feature is useful, whether or not it kind of breaks the flow of work in the application itself from beginning to end of whatever process you're looking to change. And also, what are the biggest problems that the users are experiencing on a day-to-day basis? So they're that feedback loop that you need, that ground level feedback loop that can give you a little bit of insight into what's going on. So when you're, as a product manager, when you're going through and having those conversations with your biggest customers that have the most users, they're also getting feedback from their team. So you definitely have to regularly have those conversations with that customer contact to see kind of what they're looking for and what their experience with the product is. And so the relationship between the two is extremely important. Having product management is all about feedback loops. It's connecting the customer on multiple levels to be able to get the necessary information that you need to make smart choices. Because you're not also looking to provide the best product possible, but you're also looking to, most products are sold, right? And so you're also looking to make a profit on your product more than likely, unless you've made some sort of like nonprofit system. So you're also looking to do what you can with the least amount of investment as possible that also provides the greatest amount of value. And sometimes those are really small changes. Most of the time, they're really small changes that have big impacts. And I find that processes are usually the key to that. Making something simple and making something easier to do usually provides the biggest impact on multiple levels.
So, what is the top or the complicated product that you worked on?
The most complicated is a workforce management tool, or not workforce management tool, but a work manager type tool. Like so something that's in the range of something like Jira or Trello or other work management tools. So because of the nature of how people do work remotely, finding the most efficient way to get that work done while also providing a great experience for people, being able to create that evangelism on the product so that people are really happy about it, makes a big impact on how people view their work. When you come to work every day and what you're using isn't fun to use and doesn't work very well, you tend to have a bad experience, right? So the work management tools that we've used, that I was a product manager for, those tools are highly complicated, especially when you're talking about using those tools in an agile world, which is the majority of projects and the type of work that we're doing in the SaaS industry, right? Almost everybody uses agile in one form or another. So creating a tool that not only satisfies the needs of being able to work in an agile world, but also being able to efficiently process information from ideation into released finished product was highly complicated, and ultimately very fulfilling. That type of work, making people's work easier, like I said before, is kind of what I love. And so the most challenging things I've found that the most challenging things that you do are also the things that you're the most proud of, and they make you feel the most fulfilled. So reaching for challenges is something that enhances you, and in almost all aspects of your life. Always reach for that challenge, and overcoming those problems.
So, what is that particular quality or the positive quality that you have that made you find solutions?
Um, being inquisitive is number one. Always wanting to ask questions, always wanting to learn, always wanting to enhance yourself. I find that the more you want to enhance yourself, the more curious you are, the more curious you become. Knowledge is an addiction, and sometimes when you start feeding that addiction, you learn that you grow quicker, in all different types of aspects of your life, right? And that's what also makes you want to take on challenges, because you want to test your ability with the knowledge that you have. And it's like the tag that I have on my LinkedIn profile. It's not about the knowledge you have, but how you use it, right? And the only way that you find out the best way to use it is through experience. But you have to have that base of knowledge and that drive to learn in order to improve yourself to the point where you can have a positive impact. Because if you jump into things without knowing them, yeah, you'll learn along the way. There's you're never going to be fully prepared, but I find that the better prepared you are, the more likely of success that you're going to
In these 10 years, you worked on product support and product management, and you listened to a lot of different viewpoints while managing the product and
find.
also working as a product support for product support. So listening to all these people about the products and the viewpoints and understanding also the product mechanism. So what do you think about this product development?
Yeah, so there's a couple aspects, but I think we can focus in on engineering, right? Um, so so when it comes to engineering a product, the first thing that you have to do, and we kind of touched on this earlier, is you have to have some sort of framework to follow, right? An agreed upon framework, whether or not that's waterfall, whether or not that's a version of agile, whatever that may be. You also need to have a tool that everybody's comfortable using, that everybody can use to communicate effectively on the project. Um, and that's what's going to set your base for success. Um, when it comes down to engineering and sprint management, um, and the usage of DevOps. I think the keys are when you start something. Say we're starting a whole new product, right? We're completing a new application or whatever it may be. In the beginning, your team's going to be slow. Your team is going to be in an infancy stage, right? Like you're not quite sure how quickly you can get some things done. You also have to make sure that you have the right backgrounds to be able to accomplish the things that you want when you've decided on whatever technology it is that you're using for the application. And then from there, you need to be able to set standards for code, right? So you need to be able to make sure that everything that you're doing is at a high quality, not only to prevent bugs and issues, but also just to make sure that going forward with the process of adding on or solving problems that may arise in the future, that it's easier to do so. And that you're set up for that longevity. So there's a bit of setup, but from there, I think motivating and being on the side of your engineering team is what's the most important. When somebody has a question and maybe they don't quite understand what a feature is supposed to do or how it fits in, or they can't, they may not be able to just wrap their mind around a process or whatever it may be. Being there for them, and being a good team member, and being respectful of other people's time, and just those things that make you a good coworker and a good employee are things that are necessary in order to help engineering be as good as it is. We rely on the engineers themselves to be experts, right? They're the experts in what they do, and you have to trust people to be their best person, and be able to work in the way that best suits them, and also rely on and trust them to know that they know what they're doing. And sometimes less direction is better than more direction. Sometimes you need to be able to say, okay, like, let's do it this way, because that's just maybe somebody thinks that's the best way to do something. But sometimes you just need to trust your engineers that they know what they're doing, and that they're going to be forward looking, because they want to, engineers always want to work with the newest technology. They're curious by nature. They find what is the best way for them to do their work, and allowing them to do that is really important, especially from a product management perception. And knowing that you're always going to be there to answer questions that they have around, like, what's the desired functionality, those types of things. When they can rely on you, they're going to feel empowered. And if you allow them to do the good work that they are already doing, without, your head over their shoulder and kind of directing them how to do their jobs, they're going to give you a better outcome. And they're going to have a better experience at work. So you're going to have less turnover within your engineering teams. And a stable engineering team over a long period of time is much more effective than, if you were running into like an attrition problem or something, and you have to switch people out a lot. So trusting people to do their job well, and trusting them that they know the best option without having to be right over them all the time, I find is the best way to enable the engineering team to succeed.
So right now you're working as a product support and IT manager with Wipro Salesforce practice, and you are into this position for 2 years, 10 months. And what you're learning in this process?
Um, well, the biggest thing. Well, let me make sure I say this at some point. But what I say isn't the reflection of the company, right? It's just these are just my own thoughts and opinions. And I think the biggest thing that I've learned um, working with the team is that everybody, when you come to work and everybody respects each other, and everybody respects each other's time, everybody respects each other's work, everybody respects each other's skill sets, and you encourage those around you um, to do what they're best at, you're going to get the best outcomes. And the biggest takeaway is creating a team environment where everybody is as happy as possible. Everybody is as encouraged to grow and succeed in their own right, and then to come together and work on a product that will create as many people as possible to have that same experience. Um, Feeling when you love what you do, and you put that effort into something together as a team, you're going to find that the product that you create and the product you work on, the product you support, um, is better. Um, and that's probably the biggest thing that I've learned.
Awesome. And before this, you worked at Prerio.
Yeah, so Aperia was a Salesforce consultancy that was purchased by Wipro. Um, I think it was 5 years ago now, something like that. So before I worked at Wipro doing the exact same thing. It's kind of the exact same roles. Um, Starting off as just a product support agent, and then moving into um, the different roles as I grew, and as the business needs changed. Um, and I mean it's been a good experience. It's a good learning experience. Um, Going from a more of a uh, well-known, slightly more boutique version of a company to joining into a much larger company. Um, there's a lot to learn from from a bigger company that's more established for a longer period of time. There's a lot to learn from them, and like I said, learning. I mean, learning's the foundation of everything. So it's been good.
So I can see you worked there for 5 years, 5 months. The roles are senior product support engineer. So how this work experience is contributing to you in your present role?
Yeah, so now I spend most of my time as the product support manager, where I'm also doing a lot more internal support as well, not just with our applications, but also like our practice level. And so it all comes back down to learning a couple things. Learning compassion is really big. You need to be able to not only sympathize but also empathize with your end users, whether or not they're internal or external, um, and provide the best service that you possibly can every day. And since I love so much just to make other people's work lives easier, it comes pretty easy. Like that's my goal, no matter which of the roles I'm playing, which could be a different day. Um, each one of them comes down to the same thing, and that's just to make other people's lives easier. And when it comes down to, when somebody's having a problem, I want to solve that problem. I want to make sure that my team can solve that problem. I want to make sure that the product managers and the product owners and the developer team know what that problem may be, so that they can solve it. They can come up with a way to not only maybe fix like a present issue, but also maybe change the direction of the product so that those types of issues just become irrelevant. Um, so so when you put all those three things together, it really just comes back down to definitely want to try to make people's work lives easier.
Awesome. And before this, you worked as a customer service coordinator, social media at Topcoder for 6 months, 2015 December to May 2016. So 6 months. How was that experience?
Um, Fantastic. So the history behind that is Aperio, the company that I worked for previously, they had purchased Topcoder. Um, there's a idea of the future of work being distributed. So instead of maybe hiring on staff engineers that are on salary, you could expand your reach and expand your um, expertise, maybe in technologies that your company is not familiar with, or maybe doesn't have a lot of people on staff for. And you could find that in the developer ecosystem. So there's a lot of people that like to work on contract, right? They don't really want to uh, work in like a big company that, where 40 to 60 hours a week they're just going straight through code. Maybe things aren't interesting, right? Maybe they like to work on just tons of different types of projects. They don't just want to work on one thing. Or maybe they're a really niche specialist. And so the idea with Topcoder is you can find all of those different expertise levels and all of these different people that have all these different skills. And what you can do is you can create challenges. So a company will come along and say, okay, like this is our budget. This is what we want. Let's see what the developer community comes up with. And then multiple people will create what they think would be the best solution for their problem, or for what they're requesting. And then the customer gets to choose which they like the most. And then the top, I believe at least at the time, it was the top three. Like the top three submissions would wind up getting prize money from the company for doing such a good job. So and then during that time, I spent a lot of my time on the social media side, and in working with our knowledge base, trying to make sure that we had the proper knowledge level to be able to support a community of developers. Our customers are not only just the businesses that need something, but also the developers and the developer community that are constantly submitting things for these projects. So you actually have two customers. You don't just have one, and that can kind of change that dynamic. And so you have a little bit of community management in there, where you're constantly engaging with the engineers and the developers, and getting them excited about projects and things of that nature, and fixing member issues, like profile issues and things like that, because everybody has a profile where they put in like their skill sets and things like that. That's mostly what I spent doing there.
And before this, you worked as a product support engineer for 2 years, 9 months, which is in 2013 September to May 2016. Product support engineer at Aperio again.
Yeah. So when I first started, we had a number of applications that were I'm losing my words. They were integrated they were integration applications between Salesforce and Google. Um, so like the corporate Google Mail that they used to have back in the day. So you'd have emails, you'd have your contacts, you'd have things like that. Now they have a whole new experience, which is kind of on the same level as like the Microsoft ecosystem or Slack. They have Google has its own like workspace. I think it's called Google Workspace. That didn't used to exist. So what customers often needed was a way to combine their Salesforce and Google data together. So we created an application that would sync contacts, tasks, calendar events between what was in Salesforce and what was in Google. Lots of customers needed that functionality. So one of our applications did that. So it was all about making sure that information was accurate in both systems at the same time on a timely manner. And then the other application was also linking Salesforce and Google together, but linking them in the mail process, right? So being able to open up an email in Google and being able to see the contact record in Salesforce. So you'd be able to constantly update that information without even having to log into Salesforce or vice versa. So if you got an email from a customer from a marketing campaign, you would automatically have their information, like what company they work for, what their role was. It has a lot of different applications, everything from marketing to sales to real estate agents. Just anybody who needs contact information of the people that they talk to at hand. And those were the applications that I worked on the most at first. So I kind of cut my teeth there. And that was a good experience. Those are very good experience. Some great customers, a great product. And in that is where I learned the connection between something like product management and something like support, because being that frontline person, lots of customer service employees and product support engineers are going to say the same thing, right? Like, well, why doesn't the engineering team do this? It'd be so much better if they did that. All these customers wouldn't have the problems that they have, or like this just works really weird, doesn't make any sense. And being that frontline employee, most people don't go beyond that level. They just think like, well, it's strange, but you can take that as your liftoff point, which is what I did. So instead of just being like, why do they do that? I said, well, let's change this. I want to change this. I want things to be easier. I want things to be simpler. I want things to work well. And so starting with that base level knowledge and then using that knowledge to do something. And I think that's the most important role, right? The first role that I had, I think, was the most important role, because you can't be where you're going to be in the future without being where you've been in the past. And I think usually your first role is where you figure that out. You at least figure out that that's not what you want to do, right? One way or the other, you're going to figure out like, this is definitely what I want to do, or this is not what I want to do, and I should definitely be somewhere else. And I think you need to listen to that gut part of you.
I can see you have a Slack certified admin at Slack.
Yep. Recently, I took the Slack admin certification. It was challenging, definitely challenging, but very worth it. Slack is something that I first started using when I worked at Topcoder. We use Slack internally. It's our tool to communicate, and I fell in love with it right away. The ability to talk to people on your team and be able to organize conversations in real time with also with a static element. I think it was really important, and the opportunity came up for me to be able to take that exam, and I jumped on it. I think it's going to be a technology. It's a technology that's been around, but now with Salesforce including that technology into their base in their customer 360 platform, I think that it really elevates it, and it's going to reach a lot more people. Um, I think Slack is just as important to their future growth as MuleSoft is. I think having both the social impact and the developer impact of those things and being able to link all these applications together is where kind of where our immediate future is going. Um, the biggest problem that companies have right now is being able to integrate all the different apps that they have from all these different companies because they want tailored solutions. They don't want out of the box solutions, right? So you need to be able to link those systems together in a way that makes the most sense. And when you add the social layer on top of it, you find that your efficiency is going to go up. You find that it makes it easier for people to do work, which is what I love. I love making it easier for people to do work. Um, and so when you add that extra layer on top, you really create something special. And so I think that the future, especially in the Salesforce ecosystem, is going to be MuleSoft and Slack. And I think the combination of those things are going to be extremely powerful. Um, because anybody can make an app, but if the app's not connected to the customers or the end users' um, other tools, it they're creating extra work. There's extra side work that has to happen to, especially with data. Just being able to combine all that data together to get a holistic view of things, or being able to update information quicker. And yeah, so I'm really excited about Slack. I definitely think it's going to be huge. And I definitely encourage anybody who has the chance to jump on it now, because I think within the next year or two, there's going to be lots of opportunity, especially with the way that Salesforce is backing it and pushing it right now. I think it's an alternate path to the standard um, admin role, or even the developer role that exists within Salesforce. Um, it creates another avenue for people to go. Maybe they don't want to work exclusively with Salesforce and they have experience in other technologies. It's going to enable them to do that, and it's going to create great careers. I think there's going to be a lot of careers built on Slack.
I can see you also have managed change through collaboration and teamwork certification
Well, which one
from
was that?
Udemy. From Udemy, you have managed change through collaboration and teamwork and effective communication skills, stakeholder analysis certifications.
Yeah, so with stakeholder analysis is a lot like we were talking about before with being a business analyst and a product owner. Um, the skills that you need to properly um, speak with a customer and get the requirements that they need out of something, right? They need a specific process. They need specific functionality in an app, things like that. The way to talk to them to elicit those responses that you need from them. Lots of times companies need things. Sometimes they don't know what they need, and your job is to ask them the right questions to get the information that you need out of them. And it can be tricky. It can definitely be tricky. And certifications and learning like that is key to doing lots of different types of work. Um, uh, even as a developer, there's a merging of where on one side you have all the social parts of a job, and then on this side you have all the technical parts of the job. And the better you are at both of them, the better the greater you can be. You can be the best coder in the world, but if you don't understand what the customer wants, you're not going to be able to make what you need, right? You're not going to be able to make them what they need. And so sometimes you have completely separate jobs, like you're being a completely separate person for this and a completely separate person for this. But I think both sides knowing what the other does in a way that's uh, just learning a little bit, the gains that you get from that are much better. So even if you're a developer, I think somebody should learn the basics on how to elicit proper requirements from a customer's needs. And it's required for a business analyst or a product manager or a product owner.
So you worked on engineering side. You worked on how the mechanism of a software or of an application of a product works. You worked on it. You know how to look at things and what are the frameworks that are needed and how to do architecture of it. And also you worked on product management. You are into management, and also you're working as a product support. Uh, Thing. So completely three different jobs and having huge experience in this product thing. So to summarize this, what do you say?
I think that kind of like what I mentioned earlier, right? I think that um, you need to find what makes you happy, right? You need to find that thing that drives you. And then once you find that thing that drives you, you need to learn about it. And then once you have that knowledge, you need to try to apply that knowledge as much as possible because then you learn and gain the experience. And I think each separate thing that I've done has slowly converged and has shown me that there may be a lot of different roles out there for different people, but a lot of you can find commonality in every role. And if you find that the commonality in the roles that you want to go to also line up with your passion, you're going to be successful. And you're not going to have self-doubt. It lowers the chance of imposter syndrome, because you can think about how you can say like I've been in this ecosystem for this long now. You know what I mean? Like so it helps fight off self-doubt. And when you remove the self-doubt, you become more empowered. And so it's kind of like a ladder. You start off with your base, you figure out what you want to do, you find your passion, you direct your passion at a role that helps you accomplish your passion, and then at that point you start to learn more because you're excited about it. And then once you've learned more, then you started to apply it, and then you become more self-fulfilled that way in your career, and then your career builds itself, right? You don't have to worry about maybe I'm not the right person for this job or this job. You can go after what you think you should go for. Have even if you don't have experience, that's why you want specific roles, so you can gain experience. You don't have to do jobs that you don't want to do to get to where you want to go. I don't think you have to do that. And that's probably the biggest learn that I've found in doing this, is just as long as you focus on your own fulfillment and trying to accomplish what you want, you're going to get the most out of it.
So what do you say about my questioning in this conversation and about the work that I did on my YouTube channel and podcast? Have you seen any videos?
Yeah, I saw a couple of videos. I think you're doing a really good job. I think the questions were on point. Um, going through somebody's history um, is you learn a lot by going through somebody's history, right? Because when you find out where somebody started, you can see where they are now. And sharing that with other people is really great because it's hard to learn from uh, people around you sometimes. You don't always get that from your company's CEO or CIO or CTO or whatever. You don't get to see where they started. You only really interact with them as to where they are, which is on top. And I think finding people at different levels and seeing at where they are in the stage of their career and then showing that to other people is really nice. I think that I think that people learn a lot that way, and it's a good service. I think you're doing a great job.
I did masters in software engineering and bachelor's in computer science and engineering. So I'm into technology. So how this interacting with experts like you who are already in the industry, how product development works, how software engineering works, how um, people are doing different things in different parts of the world. Uh, in the technology. So learning all this and putting in my head how this is going to helpful for me if I work in IT in coming days.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, I think it's really big for you. It's like I said, you have to get that knowledge, right? You have to soak in that knowledge so that you can make the right decisions, right? I mean, you could have came out of college and gone right into a position doing something, and then you're like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to be stuck doing this for the next 3 4 years or whatever it may be, and this way you get an insight into the type of works that other people do. A lot of problems that people have is coming out of um, um, either in the U.S. it's high school or like the top level school before college, or even coming out of college, and they have no idea what they want to do, or they have no experience in the field that they learned for. So then they come out of school and they go into um, these industries or into specific roles, and they find that they really don't like it, or they're not excited about, like, even in IT, like, maybe they're not as excited about the technology that they thought they were, or maybe there's no future in that technology. I mean, there are some coding languages that nobody uses, that are taught in university. Um, so having that knowledge as you're starting your career is huge because you get to plot your path. And like I said, like having that base level knowledge is so important. And I think you'll go far by having this foresight to do this. You're going to go far, no doubts in my mind.
So your last words to the world who is watching and listening to you from anywhere on this planet.
Well, that's a lot. That's a big question, right? I think I would go back to the same types of things that I've been talking about. You find your passion, and you work with your passion. Um, there are things that will come along with you working for your passion. If you're worried about your lifestyle or how much money you make, or you're worried about, what your lifestyle is going to be by doing specific jobs, I don't think it's quite as important as being fulfilled. And so find the thing that makes you happy, do the thing that makes you happy, and then find the way to make that part of your goals. whether or not at that point it's financially or whatever it may be. Find the thing that keeps you excited. Find the thing that changes often and keeps you engaged. And the rest of everything else will fall in line. And then you'll have the happy life that you want. At least with your work life, right? I think just finding things that you want to do and things that you want to accomplish that are in line with your self goals is huge, and that's what I'd say is the most important.
So definitely your words will help at least one person who are listening, and they will implement it in their life, and you will be the reason for their change or their growth.
Yeah, let's hope.
So can I put this video on my YouTube channel with your permission?
Yeah, sure thing, no problem.
Can I also put this audio and video clip on my podcast, website, internet, social media, everywhere with your permission?
Yeah.
So, do you want me to share any web links of yours with my audience?
No, I mean you can share my LinkedIn if you want.
Yeah, I'll put in the description. People who find our video on YouTube can see it. So,
Okay.
thank you, Justin, for your valuable time and for sharing your valuable experience and how you made things possible, and how different things impacted you.
Thank you for having me, Sai. It's been great. Thank you so much.
So take care, Justin. Thank you again.
You too.
Bye.